Yeah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kahalayim Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well. Salutations to the Akim in the four winds, the hopeful elect. The elect salute to the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel. Shalom, come back to the fold. To the sister Akwaf listening in silence. Shalom. This your brother Aram Yahweh with the lesson.
Well, it's official. Japan has announced that it will be dumping radioactive water into the Pacific. Now, this announcement comes more than a decade after the triple meltdown at the Fukushima nuclear power facility. And while the Japanese government is downplaying the safety issues with the plan, some locals, as well as neighboring countries, are expressing their concern. RT's Alex Mihailovich joins us with the story.
It is a disaster that keeps on giving. In March 2011, a massive earthquake and tsunami triggered a nuclear catastrophe in Japan's Fukushima prefecture. Over the years, thousands of tons of radioactive water have leaked into local rivers in the Pacific Ocean from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, which experienced a triple meltdown over a decade ago. Now, an estimated 1.25 million tons of water that was pumped into the ruined reactors in an attempt to cool them down is being stored in tanks at the facility. Most radioactive materials, including strontium and cesium, have been removed, but not tritium, which has been linked to cancer in humans. That said, to the dismay of many, Japan is planning on dumping that water into the sea. Here's Japan's Prime Minister.
We will decrease the tritium concentration level to about 1/40th of the benchmark set by Japan and 1/7 of the benchmark for drinkable water set by WHO. Furthermore, we will maintain transparency with the eyes of third parties such as International Atomic Energy Agency and continue monitoring closely.
While the Japanese government is trying to reassure its people and the world that the dump will be safe, some aren't buying it. At home in Japan, many have been protesting against the idea. And foreign governments have also expressed concern, especially those in Japan's neighborhood, including South Korea.
The Japanese government's decision is absolutely unacceptable.
And China.
This is highly irresponsible and will severely affect human health and the immediate interests of people in neighboring countries.
The nuclear plant's operator, TEPCO, expects to run out of space to store any more contaminated water by the fall of 2022. The release of radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean is set to begin in 2 years' time. For RT, I'm out.
So-called Japanese Ammon, you know what I mean? You know, even though normally we read this for Esau, you know, this is all for, you know, all the nations, you know, and the nations were mad, right? And you see how they shown in the video that, you know, South Korea said something, China, you know what I mean? All the little neighboring nations had something to say about them dumping that nuclear waste in there. So the nations were mad, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, right? So it's judgment of all the world and not just Esau, right? All you other nations are going to be judged too. And that thus shouldst give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, right? Because we're out here prophesying against many nations and great kingdoms, right? Of war, evil, and pestilence, right? To the saints and to the saints and them that fear thy name, right? Those that fear the name of Yahweh, Ba'asham, right? Yahweh being he is, Ba'asham in the name, right? Yahweh Shai, he who delivers his son, who's ultimately is the one that's coming back to judge the quick and the dead, right? Because that's our power, that's our brother, but he's our Lord and our Savior, right? He's the Prince, right? And Prince goes into ruler. He's the Prince of Peace. He's the ruler who the Lord set over us, whose name is going to be above every name, and every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Yahweh Hamashiach is Lord, right? To the saints and to them that fear thy name, small and great, right? And there's some Israelites who phenotype that look like that looks like those Japanese, right? That their bloodline goes back to Israel, right? Matter of fact, there was a brother that's in Japan that gave praises to Yahweh and Yahweh Shai in Japanese, right? Small and great should it destroy them that destroy the earth, and right, dumping toxins into the ocean destroys the earth, so you must be destroyed, you Ammonites.
Shadawamu. Yahweh ni kansha, Yahweh Shai ni kansha, soste Rikakudash ni kansha. Ore no namae wa Yazarayala desu. Ore wa Benjamin no Buzoku no Israelujin desu. Microchip wo yuketota bai dai san jisekai daisen ni misrairu ni yotte yakeru.
Yeah, this is Ezekiel 25, verse 1. The word of Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai came again unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against the Ammonites. That's what so-called Japanese, right? And prophesied against them, and say unto the Ammonites, Hear the word of Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai, power. Thus saith Yahweh power, Basham Yahweh Shai, because thus saith Aha against my sanctuary when it was profaned, and against the land of Israel when it was desolate, and against the house of Judah when they went into captivity, right? Which all these nations were happy when we went into captivity, right? Behold, therefore, I will deliver thee to the men of the east for a possession. So you're going to go on to captivity, right? Because what is it in Revelation 11? They sent us as gifts to all these different nations when we went down, and they all said, "Aha!" They laughed and you know, and they you know, Psalms 83. You know, they saw it was their chance, their opportunity to, you know, to rule, whatever, you know. But the Most High is going to give all these nations for possession, and they shall sit in their places in thee, and make their dwelling in thee. They shall eat thy fruit, they shall drink thy milk, right? Which is, you know, the richest, you know, right? The Lord said what? That the land of Israel was going to be what? Flowing with milk and honey, which is talking about the resources. So we're going to be taking all their what else they have of their natural resources, and dwelling in their land and enslaving them, right? Because you have come against the children of Israel, right? Starting with, the tribe that Yahushua is from. So the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, which are collectively the Israelites, you're gonna be in punishment under the people that you thought it was okay to say, aha, that you could say that, oh, you're just in the ghetto, you're in the Vados, the reservations, right? And that we were never going to amount to nothing, but you forgot that we're the Israelites, right? And not those names, those bywords, were the children of Israel. This is Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 1. Concerning the Ammonites, right, the so-called Japanese, thus saith Yahweh, have Israel, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, have Israel no sons? Right, because right, when we went to slavery, right? Have Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then did it their king inherit Gad, and his people dwell in his cities, right? Right? Because what a lot of the Japanese was what here in America, right? And maybe even some of them started saying that they were Native American, right? Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall be a desolate heap, and her daughters shall be burnt with fire, and then shall Israel be heirs unto them that were his heirs. Thus saith Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Right? So you're gonna be a slave, right? You're gonna be a desolate heap, right? Right? Because you know that what Gad went into slavery before us. Right? The 1500s. Because Jake didn't come over here until the 1600s. Right? So it was Gad that was enslaved. And then even during the 1600s, there were times when we were on the same slave ships. So yeah, they thought they were getting away. But now they're destroying the earth. They're with the program of Esau. You've seen them with the chip, mark of the beast, right? Yeah. So this is Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 8. I have heard the reproach of Moab, which is the so-called Chinese, which is the Ammonites' Japanese brother, and the vowings of the children of Ammon, whereby they have reproached my people and magnified themselves against their borders, right? Putting us in slavery. Psalms 83, saying, aha, aha. You know what I'm saying? We went into captivity. We fell. They thought everything was good. They basically co-signed with Esau, Edom, right? To bring us down, so we could be a proverb and a byword, so we could be in slavery. They thought we were gonna be a perpetual desolation. They thought we were always gonna be down, but what? The Lord has woken us up. And even the brothers that's in Japan, as you can see, right? There's Israelites all over the world, right? And the spirit and power of Yahweh is the knowledge of Yahweh is is throughout the whole earth like the water, right? Therefore, as I live, right, and he's the only living power that there really is, right, the only true God. Thus saith Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai of hosts, the power of Israel, surely Moab, which is the so-called Chinese, shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon, right, so-called Japanese, as Gomorrah, even the breeding of Nestle and salt pits, a perpetual desolation. Now they're the one that's going to be a perpetual desolation. The residue of my people shall spoil, right? We're going to take your goods, right? And your women, right? And your resources, and the remnant of my people shall possess them, right? We're going to possess you as slaves, man. This shall they have for their pride, right? Because the pride that you have against the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, right? Because you traded the Native Indian as slaves. You traded the so-called black men as slaves, right? You were part of that transatlantic slave trade, right? You were part of Psalms 83, right? It says, this shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of Yahweh of hosts, which means armies, right? So you will reproach yourself against the people of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai of hosts, right? Which means armies. So the Lord has everything is the Lord's army, right? The missiles are the Lord's soldiers, right? The uproars of the people are the Lord's soldiers. These whole things. The Lord controls all this, right? Through the angels, right? And Yahweh will be terrible unto them, for he will famish all the gods of the earth, right? All these things that they set in high esteem, right? Buddha and whatever they want to so-called worship. That's things that don't mean nothing, right? The only living power is Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and the men shall worship him. You're going to worship Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai through the children of Israel. When we conquer you and take you and put you into slavery, right, for 1,000 years, you're gonna know that the Lord has loved us, right? Everyone from his place, even all the isles of the heathens, right? Wherever the heathens at, right? You're gonna know that Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has loved the children of Israel and all you heathens around the world, right? Because you thought you could side with Esau, going back to Psalms 83, that it was a good idea, but it was not. So call Loyum Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Rakal Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the four winds, the hopeful elect. You know what I mean? Salutations to the elect. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype that look like another nation, but their bloodline goes back to Israel. Shalom, you have come back to the fold, like the brother who was speaking in Japanese right there. And the Israelite, and you sisters in Akwaf that's listening and learning. Shalom, death to America and slavery for these heathens.